Hey you guys, Indy here with Ultimate Tool Reviews. Well, today I'm going to be covering the Makita brand of power tools. Makita is a rather older company, almost 100 years old now, based out of Japan, and they have really spread around the world over the past 100 years or so. They have headquarters in, I think, over 10 countries now. They've got manufacturing in also over 10 countries as well too. And you can pretty much find them almost anywhere in the world. It's hard to not find someone who doesn't know what Makita brand tools are. They have tons of different types of tools they've been making for years now, and they've got a really good reputation of making just a solid, well-made tool with a lot of great precision manufacturing into that tool as well. So I've got a few tools that I've used with Makita over the years. This isn't all my tools that I've got from Makita. I've got many more tools from Makita. I've got a lot of tools. It's probably my main brand of tools that I use in Makita. Now, things I like about Makita are probably the number one thing I like about Makita is I like the precision and reliability of the Makita tools. So one thing Makita is well known for is their impact drivers. And I use an impact driver probably almost every day for what I do. And I'm a big fan of having a nice, lightweight, yet powerful, as well as really well featured impact driver. So I want to see some nice modes in impact driver. I want to see things like LED light rings. I want to see easy to use, easy to select modes. Some things that I like to find. Second thing I like about Makita brand tools a lot is that they are, I'm not gonna say affordable, cheap, but you can actually find a lot of really good deals on Makita tools. Some of the best deals I've found on a lot of brands of tools have been from Makita. I'll give you an example. Probably the one deal that got me really pushed into Makita pretty hard initially was a couple of years ago, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, is that at Home Depot, there was a deal for their 36-volt saw. They had both of them. They had the top handle and the rear handle. Now you got the kit, it was 2 5s and a dual charger, and that was $250. Well, at the time, you also got an additional 2 more 5s with that. So for $250, you got 4 5-amp-hour batteries, a saw of your choice, and also a dual charger. And I said, that's just an amazing deal. I wasn't really on board with the whole 36-volt rear handle saw kind of thing. I thought it'd be really bulky and really heavy. But I said, hey, you know what? I'll buy 2 of these for $500. I can get 8 5-amp-hour batteries. That's a fantastic deal. And that's what kind of made me leave my DeWalt tools a little bit behind there. And I kind of went full on to Makita. Now, when it comes to Makita, I know I talked about DeWalt not too long ago and how they have a lot of different strange lines, that can go together. Makita is more clean cut with those lines. For the most part, they have their brush tools. Moving on to their brushless tools. And finally, they have their more top tier tools that are also brushless, but there's not really a name for them like you're gonna find with DeWalt or Milwaukee. You kind of just gotta know the model numbers, which can get a little confusing at times. For example, I've got 4 of the impact drivers behind me. Some of them are top tier, like these 3 are. This is the XGT 13. This is more of a mid-range impact driver, but they all kind of function, in the same realm of an impact driver. But you got to understand that, yeah, Makita made these 3 in the previous 3 years, and they were top tier at the time. So it's kind of confusing to say, hey, what's the best one they make? You kind of can look at the Home Depot, their little displays there, and look all the way to the right. That's going to be their top tier. Makita is also pretty well known for kind of similar like the DeWalt Atomic is making a more compact tool. So Makita's got their subcompact series, which if you've seen the Makita Black Series tools, that's kind of what those subcompact tools are. Now, they kind of have a reputation for being a little bit underpowered, at times a little bit unreliable from what I've heard. I owned a few of them. I think they were just okay. At times, I didn't think the space or the size savings you would get is necessarily worth buying that tool. A lot of their tools are very compact for what they are, and I never really got on board with some of those tools to maybe save a half of an inch to then lose 25% of my power. So it's been something interesting with those types of Makita tools. I've never really been a huge fan of that. But one thing I do like, moving on a little bit here, is the outdoor power tools. So when I bought my house where I live now here in Orlando, Florida, I was originally using corded tools to maintain my yard. I didn't really, at the time, want to buy into too many battery platforms. I didn't really know which one was the best to buy into either. If you're going with basically a whole power tool solution for what I needed. And I ended up going with some of the Greenworks stuff that was corded. I also got some of the Bauer stuff from Harbor Freight initially when I had some DeWalt tools, and I was able to basically use the DeWalt batteries on those Bauer tools. If you didn't know, some of the Bauer outdoor tools, they use the exact same battery platform as DeWalt. They just actually have a little pin that you can cut off, and there you go. They work just the same. Not all Bauer tools work that way. Just seemed like their first generation outdoor power tools had that basically little hack you could do and be able to use those with DeWalt batteries, which is kind of cool. This is way before I even started my YouTube channel, and it'd be cool to do a video on that in the future at times. But anyways though, I tried out different outdoor power tools from Milwaukee, from DeWalt, and finally I tried some Makita. I won't count what I found on DeWalt and Milwaukee too much. Nothing too bad with those brands. I just found the Milwaukee stuff a little bit too heavy for what I was looking for. Lots of power, but just a bit too heavy, and at times a little bit pricey as well too. And then the DeWalt stuff just seemed heavier, although cheaper. It just seemed to lack a bit of power. Where then I finally tried the Makita stuff, and it seemed like I found a nice balance of power and weight when I finally tried some of the Makita tools there. So I kind of started going into more Makita that way, and also it was at the time when I needed a new string trimmer, and Makita, they do this like twice a year. I see it at least twice a year, if not more, is they have their 18-volt string trimmer kits with a 4-amp-hour battery. They're usually $200, and they go on clearance for 99 bucks. I would just pick those up to get a new battery and a new string trimmer and just sell off my old one, and I kind of like resets my warranty as well too. So those are really cool to have, and just one of those tools that kind of got me more into the line as I saw it. Just a fantastic deal. It's a deal you don't really find with a lot of other brands like DeWalt or Milwaukee, and that's one of the big reasons I got into Makita so much, is a lot of their deals, all the clearance deals you can find on the tools are just phenomenal, and they're hard to find with other brands. For me, I like to look for value with tools as well. I've got no problem, spending what I want to buy, the Milwaukee pack-out stuff. It's not just about the money, but it's about, how much power and durability am I getting for a tool. But I can also get this maybe almost the same tool from Makita for quite a bit cheaper on this deal. It may not be, the Milwaukee power level, but it'll be just a little bit less power level. You can have a nice warranty still from Makita, but I can save $200 on that tool. It's kind of what I've been doing for a lot of my tools. Now behind me, I've got some even more tools. Pretty much every one of these tools I got a deal on. I got the jigsaw here. Currently, Makita they basically have this deal thing almost twice a year now, where you buy one of those 36-volt saws, you get the two 5-amp-hour batteries for 250 bucks. The new deal now, instead of giving you those 2 free 5s, is basically pick a free tool of your choice. And that's what I do with this jigsaw. I basically kind of just sold the saw, kept the batteries, kept the jigsaw, because the jigsaw is going to be like, I think, around 160, 170 bucks by itself. Spend a little bit more, get the free circular saw, get 2 more 5s, and you're good to go. Speaking of batteries for Makita, it seems like it's pretty hard to not get a bunch of batteries for pretty cheap. I think I'm at about, I'd say at least 30 batteries now overall from Makita. I've got some 5-amp hours. I've got probably the most 5-amp hours I've got now, but I've got a lot of 4-amp hours. It's pretty common to find those big kits. The lawnmower kit that I bought for 400 bucks came with 4 4-amp hour batteries. I don't know if they came with 5s. I think they were trying to hit that price point of that $400 range. But of course, it's a great deal. You get 4 more batteries, you get the lawnmower. Even if you say like, the battery's worth 200 bucks for 4 4s, the lawnmower then becomes $200. You get the free dual charger as well too. Overall, it's a great deal. Now there's a little bit of argument to be made there. Comparing that to the DeWalt that comes with 2 10s, you're looking at a pretty similar amp hour there between 4 4s at 16 amp hour and then 2 10s at 20, and then those 2 motors are the exact same price. So a little bit of comparison there. Do you want to go with 2 larger batteries, or do you want to have 4 smaller batteries? And that's kind of what Makita has always done, is they've kind of always have that basically 6 amp hour battery is going to be their highest. And speaking of 6 amp hour batteries, I have not yet been able to find one really anywhere. I know that you can buy them new on Home Depot's website and things like that, but I'm not going to pay full price for one when they have so many deals on the 4s and the 5s. You buy a tool, you get one of those free. It's just one of those things where if I can't get a deal on, I'm probably not going to buy it. And the 5s work just fine. I don't see having an extra amp hour would be worth me paying a bunch of extra money just to have that type of battery. Speaking of batteries, of course, if we move into some of the other lines from Makita, Makita does make a CXT, that is their 12-volt line. And that line, I did a video on that line not too long ago, and it's just an interesting line because they have all their brush tools. You can find deals on those all day long. There's plenty of them on eBay. They're currently on sale at Home Depot right now, but the brushless tools are nowhere to be found. You can't really find them at Home Depot. I've never actually seen one in store or in person. They are really expensive. I actually paid less for my new XGT 19 impact driver than the current generation of 12 volt brushless impact driver costs right now. So it doesn't really make any sense to go to that type of tool. They're not even that much smaller than these current tools anyways. So it's one of those things where unless they want to start pushing it, offering deals, getting it in store, it's not something I'm really going to invest in too much. I only have 2 tools from the CXT line now. I've got the CXT pin nailer, and I've also got a impact driver as well. Of course, it's the brushed impact driver. Mostly I've got into that line a little bit still because I just have that pin nailer, which I got a really good deal on, and just want to have a few batteries. And I basically just bought the impact driver kit just to get the batteries out of it. Is all I really did with it. So nothing too crazy there with the CXT line. It's not my favorite 12 volt line. I would say DeWalt's my favorite 12 volt line. I've got much more DeWalt 12 volt tools than I do with the Makita line. It's kind of just a shame though that Makita isn't pushing that line more. There's a lot of cool tools they have in it, but there's just not really any deals for it. And other brands are doing a lot better with their lines. Of course, you know, Milwaukee and DeWalt have way bigger 12 volt lines, and they're much better supported by those brands. So if we move up from the CXT line, of course this is all the LXT tools I have behind me. Makita also, about a year and a half ago now, they released their new XGT 40 volt line. So in classic Makita spirit, they also have the dual 40 volt tools as well. So they have basically an 80 volt line right off the bat. They release those. Now the only downside of the XGT line is that they're a significant price jump from the LXT tool equivalents. And you're not necessarily going to see that much jump in power right now on a lot of the Gen 1 tools. We're slowly starting to see some of the Gen 2 tools roll out, like the new Gen 2 reciprocating saw, which now includes an orbital action, and it is quite more powerful than the first generation of tools. The problem is that those tools are much more expensive. There's not really any deals to be found. There was a recent deal where you basically would pay full price for one of the kits, and you got either a free 2.5 amp hour battery or a free 4 amp hour battery. Not really enough for me to be pushed into more of XGT. I only bought one XGT kit so far. Right when it came out and was available in the US, I picked up the XGT reciprocating saw. It came with a 4 amp hour battery. A little pricey at around, I think I paid $340 for it. When you can get other recip saws like the LXT version, 18 volt version, for around $100 or cheaper on eBay. I think I got mine brand new in the box on eBay for like $80. It was pretty cheap, and I've got plenty of batteries for it. Which is the XGT is a little expensive. I'd like to say better things about XGT, but I really want to see that come down in price or see some deals for it. But of course, that's not what Makita is going for. Even Makita on their website, they've got a graph that shows, hey, here's how much LXT we're doing, here's what XGT is doing. And the XGT is just a little piece of that pie there. So they really want to still focus on the LXT tools. I think that might be partially by design so far from Makita. I think pretty much everyone's still running a ton of LXT that's in Makita, and maybe slowly working their way into XGT as those tools come out, as those deals come out. And speaking of deals, I want to move back kind of in the outdoor power tool section. I now have 3 chainsaws from Makita. I don't think they necessarily make the best cordless chainsaw, but I do like how they function, how they work. They seem to have a lot of cool features on them, and they're relatively affordable too. And the fact that I got one of the big 36 volt chainsaws from Makita, and it was I think around $320. Came with 4 5s, the chainsaw of course, and their dual charger, which was pretty cool to get. I picked up a second one of those not too long ago for $175 on eBay. Came with just 2 5s though and a dual charger, but brand new in the box. And then I also recently picked up the smaller top handle chainsaw, which I've seen some reviews on that. I'd like to do another video on that chainsaw. I was using it for a couple smaller jobs, and it's not a chainsaw that you're going to want to be running through, bigger stuff all day long, but it's a great chainsaw for making up kind of like smaller clean cuts and just doing a little bit of trimimming. Kind of very similar to the Milwaukee M12 hatchet, and of course they have the new M18 hatchet coming out soon, which I'd love to try that as well. So when it comes to a lot of the Makita outdoor tools, they've got a lot of the 36 volt power tools as well. So I've got the 36 volt blower, I picked that up recently, really impressed by that blower. The 18 volt blower is probably one of the cheapest blowers I've seen. That was actually at Tractor Supply Co. for about $50 online, and it came with free shipping too. The only catch was you had to ship it to store, you couldn't ship it to your house. but that was live for about a month. And basically, if you want a blower, it was $50, brand new in the box. I'm not sure if they were clearancing them out or what they were doing exactly, but it was a fantastic deal. I know a lot of guys pick those up pretty quick, and that'll beat any deal I found on any of the DeWalt or Milwaukee blowers so far. And just overall, really cool to find a lot of deals on Makita. That's probably one of the biggest reasons I'm in Makita, is that I seem like I can find deals all the time for tools that I actually need. Moving on to some of the Makita stuff, Makita also makes a couple of vacuums. Not necessarily the shop vac style vacuums that DeWalt and Milwaukee are more known for, but they make a lot more of the hospitality style vacuums. If you didn't know, they actually make a full 36-volt upright vacuum. Looks just like a regular upright vacuum, but you plug in 2 batteries to it. My wife actually owns a cleaning company, and she uses the Makita stick vacuums. We actually bought 2 now, and they have just been absolutely phenomenal. They have the little cyclone attachments on them, and they run off just one LXT battery. You put a 5 on there, you can get a few hours worth of work out of that tool before that battery is fully drained out. But overall, we've been really happy with those vacuums. We've got one for the house now, and they're fantastic little vacuums. And you can get those on eBay for about $70, kind of an open box out of a kit kind of deal, but they're all over the place on eBay, really cheap, and they're really good vacuums. Now, some things that I don't like about Makita are all my storage for tools is going to be the Milwaukee packout system. And Makita has got their little boxes, but they're not really available anywhere in the US. You kind of got to buy them online, and they're not really tough. They don't have any wheel options for them. They're kind of just boxes. And I really wish they would kind of, give the pack out and give the Tough Series stuff from DeWalt a real run for their money. I wish they would really try to focus on that. I'm not sure why they haven't got into that. I know it's a big profit margin for a lot of companies, is getting those tool storages. A lot of guys buy those. I know I have tons of those, and just something that Makita has not really pushed into too much. I'm not sure why they haven't done it yet. So of course, for every brand, there's going to have their weaknesses. There's no brand that doesn't have a weakness, of course. But a lot of brands out there, they're gonna have to be missing something in some category of tools. Another tool I picked up from Makita not too long ago. I also grabbed a deal on this one. I'm not sure why I found so many deals on the Makita tools, but I didn't really need a miter saw. I was kind of, keep my eye out for one. I knew I'd find a good deal eventually on one. But I did pick up the Makita 36-volt miter saw. I've overall been pretty impressed with it. It does seem to lack a bit of power compared to some of the corded versions, but overall it's kind of the job done for me, no problem. I do like all the adjustments on it. It's really nice. My only complaint on that tool so far is that it's a little confusing to understand where all of your adjustment points are. You got to kind of reference the manual once in a while to understand, hey, I need to turn this lever, push this button to adjust this one spot of the tool. So a little confusing there, but overall not a bad deal. I think I paid only I got like almost a 70% discount at Home Depot for that tool when it hit clearance, and the manager there gave me another deal on it as well too. So overall a fantastic buy. Speaking of battery power from Makita, I've always liked that pretty much every charger they sell is going to be a rapid charger. So for the most part, I've got a few chargers behind me. I've got the XGT charger back here as well too, and the CXT charger, which CXT, they don't have any rapid chargers. They're all just standard charging from the CXT 12-volt line. But the XGT line actually uses dual fans in that charger to actually push more air through that battery, whereas the LXT chargers just have a single fan to push air into that battery. Now, one thing I always had a complaint with when it came to a lot of Milwaukee and DeWalt stuff was that I was waiting over an hour for my batteries to be charged back up, where a lot of the Makita stuff is done about 45 minutes, or I think it's between like 30 and 50 minutes for a lot of Makita stuff. They're dead batteries. So I like having the rapid chargers. Even with the fan, if you overheat those batteries pretty hard, like you're working out, it's 98 degrees out, you run the mower, and those batteries get pretty hot, they're pretty drained. You throw them on the charger, with that fan blowing, those batteries will cool off a lot faster than most other chargers will, just having the battery sit on that charger and waiting for it to get cool. Whereas it's just actively cooling that battery, you're gonna get that battery cooled down and recharged a lot faster. So that's pretty cool what Makita's doing there. I like that kind of, everything's a rapid charger, and it works really well. One of the downsides that Makita does have is if you follow like Makita on Instagram, they have a Japanese page, and they're kind of always showing off the newer stuff before it hits anywhere else in the world. Makita doesn't really listen to anyone when it comes to, say, people begging for Makita table saw. There's a lot of tools that everyone's like, oh, Makita, please make this, please make this. And Makita just kind of does whatever they want to do. Makita is one of the few remaining tool companies that's not owned by anybody else. They're just Makita. They don't own any other companies themselves, and they are just a standalone brand. One of the reasons why I like Makita a lot is because they're just Makita. There's no one else that owns them. There's no one else under them. It's just that one brand. And so, of course, when you look for tools, you might find tools that really haven't been updated recently at all. And that can be a big downside for a lot of people when it comes to tools. You want to always have the newer version, the newer, most powerful version. For example, I've got a few of the larger impact wrenches from Makita, and they haven't really released a newer LXT version yet, but if you move it to XGT, they have some of the newer versions there, but they're going to run you in that almost $400 to $600 range. They get pretty pricey there. So, you know, there's probably an LXT version in the works, but do we have it yet? Well, no. Do we know it's coming out yet? Well, no. And you never know if Makita is going to come with that new tool soon. One good example is the XGT 19. This has been available in Japan and other countries for almost a year now, and it never really was, you know, came to the US. Now, did Makita release it in the US? They did, but they kind of just hid it in one of the other tool combo kits and didn't really tell anybody. So I started seeing guys pick them up and like, hey, this is all new. I didn't even know you could buy this in the US yet. And then I saw a few of them hit eBay. The guys were pulling out of kits that they didn't need, and that's how I picked up mine. Now, as of this video so far, I haven't seen them on Home Depot's website just yet as a standalone tool. As far as I'm aware, you can only get them in a kit, which is a little strange because for someone like me who's always buying the latest Makita, I have no reason to buy that kit again just to pick up a new impact driver. I already own the drill in that kit. So it's kind of strange that they're doing it that way. It's almost like one of those 0.5 model numbers, like they change the model halfway through the year. It's just something strange about Makita. If this was Milwaukee or DeWalt, they'd have a whole newsletter that came out. They'd offer a deal with that tool, and they'd be flying off the shelves. We're going to be talking about them. But Makita, with this new impact driver, they kept it really under the radar. And whether you think that's good or bad, it's kind of interesting. I think it's not a good thing. I think they should be talking about it. It's a fantastic impact driver. I'm surprised they didn't offer buy the impact driver for $150, get a free battery, just something, to help people understand that it's out there. Even me, that I follow Makita stuff all the time, I had no idea it was out until someone told me that, hey, it came in the new kit. There was no press release from Makita. It wasn't even on the website, actually. As far as I'm aware, this has been available for almost 3 or 4 months in the US, and it was only recently announced and put on the website just a few weeks ago. So kind of just strange on Makita why they would do that exactly. When it comes to things like announcements, Milwaukee is always right on the ball with that stuff. They're always hearing about the newest stuff coming out. They've always got, hey, we listen to you guys, we're gonna do this now. Don't expect that with Makita. They're just gonna kind of do whatever they want, and they're just gonna, hey, it's out, try to find it. That's kind of what Makita does a lot. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I've got many more tools to talk about when it comes to Makita. I don't want to make the video too long, of course. I might even do a part 2 of this video. Lots of tools to cover when it comes to Makita stuff. Outdoor power tools, they got chainsaws, drills, impacts, so much stuff to cover. Just awesome tools, and definitely one of my favorite brands of tools, but my main brand of tools that I have right now. The majority of stuff I own is now Makita. And I'm not saying Makita is the best brand out there. If you own Milwaukee or DeWalt, that's fine too. I own Milwaukee and DeWalt as well too. Nothing wrong with those brands. But like I've said in the video a couple times now, I seem to just find the best deals on Makita stuff. It stays reliable, works great for me. So guys, thanks for watching, and leave a comment below if you got any questions, and take care, guys.